Welcome back, single viewer. My name is Sonja Geracsek. I'm a motion designer, and today I'll take you through another phase of my online class editing. In the past few streams, I've shown you kind of a little bit of the process of what I go through when I edit my online classes. I create animation classes and motion graphics classes with a lean towards expression programming within After Effects. And I have a certain workflow I have established as workflow over the past few years that I have been creating online classes, and I'm always optimizing it. And I actually found after yesterday's stream and after continuing to edit the class a little bit more that I was getting frustrated with how slowly I was editing that class, and that's because of perfection. And I realized that really I need to stop being so precise and taking almost an hour for a 10-minute recording to edit it. So I've decided to approach my online class editing in a similar fashion as I have approached my podcast editing, where I take what is the word? An eagle eye look, where you zoom out and you take kind of a broad picture of what you're doing, and then you go into finer detail. That's actually my approach for animation as well. So I don't know why I wasn't applying it to this. Maybe I was really detailed, focused, and I really wanted to get in there and make it as perfect as possible. But that takes time, and it's not always necessary to go into this detail, as most people won't even notice the things that I have edited. And so basically what I decided to do is I was going to go through the class in fast playback, so not real-time playback, and I was only going to edit obvious mistakes in speech. When I say because I really hate that when that's in classes, when I watch other people's classes, and I really hate listening to people say It's unavoidable when I'm on a live stream because that's just the way I talk, and when I think for a second, it's natural for me to say but I want to, if I have the option to edit that out, I will edit that out. So that's definitely something that needs to go in an online class. And also times where I'm thinking and there's just a long break, or I'm looking at my script and checking that I've mentioned everything that I wanted to mention in that lesson. So these are the three things that I definitely want to remove in the broad picture edit. So first time through, fast playback, edit out all of these like big mistakes, so to speak. And then the second run through, I play it back at a regular speed, because then the class is only about 5 minutes long. The lesson, not the class. The lesson is only about 5 minutes long, so I play that back in real time, and then I take out, maybe there's some long pauses here and there that sound a little bit awkward in the speech, then I'll take that out. But not every single one. I need to keep reminding myself, I do not need to remove every single pause in speech, because it's just how I speak naturally. I don't speak like this without a pause all the time. It's just, yeah, it's the way I speak, and I just need to accept that and take that out of my editing workflow. And the other thing is, if there's like mouth sounds that you can hear on the microphone, I want to remove those. And if there's any other obvious mistake or something, just a few more details. So basically, it's 2 passes of editing of that video. 1 in fast playback, big picture, and then 1 in live playback. Live playback and detailed edits. So I'm going to take you through that for a second now. Let's jump into Premiere Pro, where I have my class ready. Let's open this up. And so, as you can see, I don't know if you noticed, if you were watching yesterday, not last week, yesterday. I was streaming yesterday. If you were watching yesterday, you may have heard me say that sometimes I have this scene numbering here on the side, this is how I number my scenes. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, I go, and also instead of going 0, 1, 0, 2, I add an additional 0 at the end in case I want to move a scene in between two scenes. And that has exactly happened. Now, between 5 and 6, I decided to split lesson 5 into two lessons because it actually ended up being too long for one lesson. And there was a nice breaking point where I said, okay, I'm going into a new concept here. I want to break that up into 2 lessons. So, so that my sequencing, my naming, what do you call it? The sorting of my lessons doesn't get broken. I now have the option to slide in another lesson without it having to hang out at the end of this number sequence. So that's generally how I name my scenes. This is also the same in After Effects. When I have a scene sequence, I name them the same. So yeah, so that's what I've done. And now I'm at scene 7. Yep, 6 I've already done. So now we're at 7. So basically, the first thing I do, I cut this beginning off, so the speech actually starts exactly at this voice marker, and this is the time it takes for the transition in After Effects to happen from the cover image to the Hi, Zweibert. Yes, it is much better than IGTV. Please tell everyone, come join me on Twitch instead of watching this on IGTV, because then you can see my beautiful face as well as see what I'm doing on screen. It's so strange. I don't have a lot of people in the chat usually, so it's a little strange to be on stream while I'm trying to type and talk, and my microphone is slightly over my keyboard, so I'm gonna have to move this out of the way a little bit. Okay. Right, so I start with the video already on, the audio starting at this point, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. And now I just playback, fast playback. So in Premiere Pro, you can fast playback by hitting L twice. And I must have switched that. Oh yes, I usually edit in my headphones. So now I'm gonna have to change the audio output for you to hear it. Okay, now we want to have a subtitle to go along with our title, and I want it to be positioned dynamically below the title layer. So this point, for instance, this is a moment where I'm kind of thinking what I'm going to say next, and there's a little bit of mouth sound going on. So that's definitely something I want to cut out in this first pass. So these kind of longer pieces, I mean, you know, long is subjective, but visually when they look like about this size, I'm more likely to cut them out now rather than later. I'm going to duplicate the title layer by highlighting it, hitting Ctrl-D, and now I have a... And also the advantage of listening to it in fast playback, first of all, you're watching the video faster, and so you don't take the entire time of the recording to edit this video, but you also, the small mistakes are not so obvious. So if there's a little pause in my speech, I don't notice it as much if it's playback faster. So I'm not getting into my head and into this perfectionism of having to remove every single pause. So that's the upside of that. By highlighting it, hitting Ctrl-D, and now I have a second title layer. Essentially, I would hit Enter and rename it. I'm going to rename it subtitle. I'm also going to move it below the title just so it's visually where it's going to be in the end. Now I want to not move it down, but I'm going to reposition it dynamically. So normally this little break, visually I can see this pause, and I would already be like, oh man, I need to take that out so that my speech is absolutely smooth. But I'm not a robot. I speak in different paces. So, but if I'm listening to it in fast playback, I don't even notice that pause. So it's a really good way to kind of ignore these tiny minor details and step away from perfection a little bit. Now I want to not move it down, but I'm going to reposition it dynamically according to the size and position of the title, as well as the padding and the frame size and position. So here I'm clearly looking at my script to see what the next step is and if I've already said everything I wanted to say up until this point. So I'm going to cut this thing out. So if you're wondering how I'm cutting at the moment, I'm using Control, probably if you're on Mac, then it'll be Command, Control, Shift, and K. That cuts through all layers that you have in Premiere Pro, and Control K would be just that one layer. So if I was here and I hit Control K, it would just, actually I had that highlighted. So just so you have the full picture, Control K, it cut everything. Okay. I guess Control K cuts everything, and what does Control Shift K do then? It does the same thing. Well, I just confused myself this entire time I was working. I was always holding Control Shift K. Well, I guess there's no difference then. If I hold K, Control K, it's not showing up. So if I'm on K, Control K is Add Edit. Control K. Does that mean there's nothing there? I don't know. Well, doesn't matter. You can't see that on stream. I just opened the keyboard shortcuts to see what shortcuts are pre-saved in Premiere Pro. But yeah, basically that's what it is. You hit Control K to make the cut. If you have a layer highlighted, then Control K will only cut that track, I guess, not layer, but it's a track. And if I have nothing highlighted, then it will cut everything. I guess that's the thinking behind it. But if I have something highlighted and hit Control Shift K, then it still cuts everything. Okay, so the Control and Control Shift with the cutting is if you want to ignore the selection or if you want to just cut the selection. So that's the difference. Yeah, because I always want to cut the video and the audio together, I always hit Control Shift K, just because I always want them to be cut together, unless I want to shift something and sequence something, but we can get to that later. Okay, let's continue watching. I'm going to turn it down to 100 font size, and this way we can already see that there's another title, rather than working blindly when we can't see it. And before we add the expression, I would like to reposition all objects to line up with the control layer in the center of the screen and parent it to them. Okay, there's another thinking moment, so I'm going to cut that out again. I hope you don't mind that I'm not talking non-stop as I usually do on streams, because if I'm editing this, I'm actually having to listen to it. But yeah, I hope this is in some way useful to you. I'll try and include as many tips and tricks as I'm doing this, so that if you're watching this all the way through, you'll get something out of it apart from just watching me edit. But let's keep going. Of the screen and parent it to them. This will be useful for creating global size and position controls for the essential graphics panel later. So the control layer is in the center of the screen right now, and I want everything to be in the center of that as well. So I'm going to move it down while holding Control or Command on my keyboard, and now I'm going to parent everything to the control layer. Now if I move the control, everything moves. So once we start adding everything to the essential graphics panel to make a template out of this, I can just use the position and scale properties of this control layer to move the entire thing. Okay, let's move back to the subtitle. Okay, so I think there's another pause. Yep, so I can cut this pause out again. Subtitle. Now there are various ways we can approach positioning the subtitle, because we want the position of the subtitle be below the title, and the position of the subtitle depends on the size and therefore on the height of the title. Yep, another little pause. It makes sense to me to use the source rect at time function we used on the anchor point and on some of the other functions and expressions we've used so far. This will calculate the size of the type. This will calculate the size of the title. So this is a good example of where I made a mistake in speaking and I wanted to correct myself. So when I say this, I think... Yeah, so there's a little mouse sound here, so I want to exclude that. So right before I continue talking, and this is where I repeated, that's where I want to make the cut. But if I make cuts this tight to my actual speech, I want to play that back in real time just to make sure it doesn't sound weird and it doesn't sound cut off. I try to make all of the audio cuts in Premiere so that I don't have to keep adjusting the original audio. But if there is like a mouth sound or an that I cannot cut out without impacting the speech, I do sometimes go back into Audition and make some audio edits just to tweak the audio a little bit more so it doesn't sound so weird when I make that cut in Premiere Pro. So let's listen back to that. Expressions we've used so far. This will calculate the size of the okay, so it sounds natural, so I'm going to go ahead with that. Title and each frame. So let's start by adding an expression to read the center position of the title. And what am I doing here? So in these pause times, I always want to make sure that my mouse isn't moving and that I wasn't doing something that I wasn't commenting on. It actually here my mouse is moving before I start talking again. So I want to cut this part only until where the mouse starts moving. I'm going to call the position property of the subtitle and I'm going to add an expression to it by holding Alt and clicking on the stopwatch. And let's start with the variable. Actually, I think I'm saying that I'm calling the position property, but I don't make a note of how you do that. You just press P in After Effects to call the position property. So I'm just going to add a marker to my timeline here, and I have my timelines over here and my markers over here, and I want to make a note that I can then later on see in After Effects that I want to add a little bar that comes up that says press P for position property. So I usually say hit P for position property. And I make it red so that in here in Premiere Pro, I know that this is a marker for After Effects for later on. And then all of these markers with the note that I just wrote will show up in After Effects, and then I can take that text, copy paste it, and add it to whatever I need. If I want that bar to come up, then I can add it to that bar. Of the title. I'm going to call the position property of the subtitle, and I'm going to add an expression to it by holding Alt and clicking on the stopwatch. And let's start with the variable. This is the subtitle, so let's call the variable bed. And let's name the layer, which is this one. I'm also holding Alt. That will actually just say this layer, but I actually want to call the layer in relationship to the entire... Okay. There's a funny little pause here, so I'm going to cut this out. Layer in relationship to the entire composition, so let's just write this out. So I want to search for a layer in this comp, and the layer is named subtitle. There it comes up already, and I'm closing the statement with a semicolon. Now I want to call the subtitle height. My layer has a typo, that's why it's coming up in a funny way. So it's not subtitle, it's subtitle. Okay, I just want to correct that, so subtitle is always called as the same word. And there's another pause here. Let's pause. I always forget to turn off my screensaver when I'm streaming. That's that doo-doot sound that you keep hearing. And now I want to call source vector time again. So I want to start with the layer I'm calling, then source vector time. We're not adding anything into the brackets, but we're calling the height times the source vector time of the scale divided by 100. And then we end it with a semicolon, and now in the brackets I want to add the scale, source vector time of the scale as well. You always want to start with which layer you're calling, and since we defined that already with the variable. So one other thing that I'd like to mention, what I used to do is before today, when I told myself, no, stop perfection, I used to take these parts when I'm just typing. I used to layer them over the speech where I'm talking about the thing that I'm typing. So I used to take this part, I used to cut this part where I'm typing on screen, and I would layer this over where I'm saying what I'm about to type. So you don't have to hear me say it and then afterwards see me do it, and I would cut the typing parts from out of the audio, and then it would be just a fluid speech. But that takes up so much time, because obviously I need to this time out of the audio that I'm pushing somewhere else, I need to overlap something else before that. So I need to make sure that there is enough still screen where the mouse isn't moving, or where I'm not like showing something on screen, so that it looks like fluid motion. It takes up so much time to do that, and I think I just need to accept that a video doesn't need to be, you know, robotized, that I don't need to look like I'm a robot that never needs to take time to think and continue. This is a lesson for all of you in general. You don't need to be perfect. Let go of perfection. Perfection holds you back and it takes your time away. So let's just take a broad view of this.
Sort of the time of the scale as well. You always want to start with which layer you're calling, and since we defined that already with the variable, I can always call the variable, then the function, which in this case is the transform, scale, and because we're calling the height, it's the y index, and we want to divide that by 100 to normalize it.
So here I'm actually not doing that much. I think after I stop typing the 100, I'm gonna take this out, and yeah, because the semicolon is already in there, I've finished that statement. So I'm going to take this part out.
To normalize it.
And here again, I think I'm waiting or checking something. So I finished typing here, and I think I don't do anything else until I start talking again. So I'm going to take this part out. Let's see.
The size of the title. So it's exactly the same piece of code as for the subtitle, only that we're removing sub and we're calling title. We don't want to forget the padding. And actually the padding we can take from somewhere else where we added it already. I think it's one of these expressions. Yep. Okay, we do have it here, but the problem is for this, that it's calling its own layer, so we're going to add the discomp layer portion of it. So we need to find the composition, it's this comp, and then the layer is in the brackets. You can also use the pigment for this. The layer is this layer. And the effect, right, actually I could have just pigment the entire thing, because the pigment adds this comp.layer, so it adds this entire phrase that we need. So this is great, and after that you need a full stop to call the effect, and the name of the effect, and then you have the padding.
Okay, so at this point, in my previous editing workflow, I would have also tried to take that mistake out. So try to appear that I'm always doing every step of my online class perfectly. And I think I just need to let go of that. And, you know, I've seen this in many tutorials and other online classes that do motion graphics or even these types of expression classes, and it never bothers me. It only bothers me when I'm editing my own class, and I think that's really something I need to let go of. So, yeah, I'm not going to try and hide the fact that I realized something while I was doing it, and actually I was doing the wrong thing before, because we end up with the same thing in the end. And I think that's still fine for anybody taking this class. So, let's continue.
So this is great, and after that you need a full stop to call the effect, and the name of the effect, and then you have the padding. And now we actually want to calculate the size, the position.
Okay, this size position, that definitely I want to take out.
The size, the position.
There's no need to keep mistakes like that in here.
And now we actually want to calculate the position of the Y position.
And I think there's a mouse sound here, so I'm going to remove that as well, because that's not very pleasant for anybody to listen to.
The position of the Y position that we're calculating here.
And this is a mouth sound as well, so I'm going to take this out. And I don't think I'm doing anything until here. So until I stop typing, I'm going to cut this part out.
That we're calculating here.
Is this? What is that?
Here.
Yeah, it's just a keyboard click.
let's call it, I can call it Y position, but I want to keep it short, so I'll just call it Y pause. And now we want to calculate. And also I actually didn't.
I want to take this arm out. I think my mouse isn't moving. That's always the annoying... it's moving exactly in that moment, but it's not moving before. Okay, so what I'm gonna... Actually, I'm not gonna cut this. I'm only gonna cut the audio here. So this is what I meant by sequencing. If there is movement during a part that I want to cut out, what I do, I check if the scene before that has any mouse movement or any kind of movement on screen, and I just overlap this part of the video that I want to keep over a part of audio that's already there and just cut out a bit of video that came before.
We want to calculate, and also I actually didn't need to call the subtitle and the subtitle height, but if ever you need it, you already have it written out here and you can use it in some other time, but essentially we need to calculate the title height. So we want, at first we want to position...
Hello everyone who's joining on Instagram Live!
Further down on the screen. But first, where we want it to be is at half of the title height, so that would be the center, which means we want title height. I'm scrolling in the suggestion bar is never a good idea, let's not do that. So title height divided by...
Do I want to remove... Yeah, let's remove this arm. I don't like that. Let's see who has joined us. Hello.
Let's not do that. So title height divided by 2, that will give us 2.
Okay, I'm not actually saying anything here. I think I'm just thinking. So I'm going to cut that out as well.
That will give us the center of the title, but we also want...
What is this? Okay, that's just the spacebar. That's fine.
Also want the padding, and we want the padding to be divided by 2 as well.
And I'm thinking here, so I definitely want to cut that out. Okay. And I don't know if you know this, but to cut something like this clip and this to shift into this space, it's called a ripple delete. It's shift and delete on the, so not backspace, but delete on the keyboard. Can you do backspace? I wonder. I always use delete. No, you cannot use backspace. That's the point. You need an extended keyboard or a delete button and not a backspace. So.
Well, what do we? Since we added the padding, we said.
So.
But 2 as well. What do we? Since we added the padding, we said 50 pixels.
Actually, I think I probably want a little bit of a break here because I'm questioning myself and my own methods. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a space here for that thought.
As well. What do we? Since we added the padding, we said 50.
So I want this out as well. And the mouse ends up exactly in the same position as before the I always look for that so that you don't have jarring cuts of the mouse. There's a little bit of a jump, and maybe I can just cut this just a tiny little bit earlier so that the mouse is a little bit closer to the next mouse position, just so that you don't see the cut so much. This is another one of those perfectionism things, but I think it's less bad. It's less bad as trying to cut out every single pause in speaking.
We said 50 pixels is our padding, but we added the padding times 2, so it's 50 pixels away from the text on each side. So actually we probably only need to add the padding once. Let's see if that maths works. And now we want to add that statement. There's one thing I forgot to do before I added this expression. I need to separate the dimensions. So I'm going to click onto my expression. I'm going to copy it. So I'm pretty sure it's going to remove it as soon as I separate the dimension. So since we only want to add this expression to the y position, not the x position, I'm going to separate the dimensions. You don't have to do that. You can do this entire expression by telling it that x doesn't change. So instead of separating the dimensions, you can say value 0 is the same. So take the same value, don't change that, and then y position, and that should do the trick. But you can also do it in such a way. Oh, I want to keep the y position. You can also do it in such a way that you right-click on your property, you separate dimensions, which means you can target the x and y position separately. Now, if I alt-click on the y position and I paste my expression in here that I copied earlier, you can see it does the same thing. So these are 2 ways of adding the expression to the position. Let's see if I can make this a little bit larger so you can see the entire expression. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's a little pause here. Yeah, so if you were able to catch what I was just saying in fast forward, that's a really good way of two different ways to target one parameter, one value of a position property in After Effects. You can either separate the dimensions by right-clicking on the position and just targeting the X or the Y position, or you can add a statement where you keep one of the parameters fixed and you address the other one with an expression within the same statement. So it works either way. It depends what you find is more obvious for you. I like to immediately see what has been done to properties. So if I have the possibility to only address one, like splitting the dimensions, separating the dimensions, and then only affecting the Y position, for me that's more obvious, because then I can see, oh, okay, the X has not been changed, only the Y has been changed. But, you know, it's the same result in the end.
That's the way to approach it. And now you can see that the text is exactly at the height of our frame. So that's excellent. And as I mentioned, we use the padding ×2 for the frame. So it's 50 pixels on each side of the frame. That's a good way to do maths, because then you don't have to divide the height the way we do it with the height of the title. You just add the padding one time, and then you know, okay, that's the value from the text to the frame. It's just there for the one single time.
And here I'm thinking again, so I'm just going to wait.
Single time. Now we can play around with some additional margin over here, because obviously we don't want the text to be right on top of the frame. We want it to be below the frame. We want it to be a little bit away from the title and the frame. So what we're going to do, we're going to add another slider, duplicate one of your slider layers. The padding is the most.
I think I should probably split this up because this is another 5 minutes long. So I think I want this to be 2 classes again instead of having one long 15-minute class.
It's just there for the one single time. Now we can play around with some additional margin over here, because obviously we don't want the text to be right on top of the frame. We want it to be below the frame. We want it to be a little bit away from the frame. So what we're going to do is another slider. Duplicate one slider is the most actually a little bit away from the title. So what we're going to do, we're going to add another. So we're going to look at it to look for it to be a little bit away from the title and the frame.
So I think I'm gonna cut this. I'm going to add a marker to say that this is where I want the next scene to start. I'm gonna make it yellow. And then I'm going to add a hold frame for the end of this scene. I'm going to go over here to the right where my scenes are, and I'm going to duplicate it. And now I have a second version, and I want this to be the following one. And actually this is where I'm adding the margin. Okay, adding margin to subtitle. So that's the second part. And for the lesson 7, I'm going to remove. Wait.
One of your slider layers, the padding is the most obvious for this because it doesn't have an expression on it. Hit N.
So.
And the frame. So what we're going to do, we're going to add another slider, duplicate one of. We're going to.
So I have to decide where to cut the audio so that I can jump to the next part in the next lesson.
We want it to be below the frame. We want it to be a little bit away from the title and the frame. So what we're going to do, we're going to add another slider, duplicate.
Because I immediately go into explaining how to do that.
We're going to add another slider.
I'll see what it sounds like if I just cut it here. It's going to sound a little abrupt.
So what we're going to do, we're going to add another slider.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a little abrupt, but I think it's better than... wait, Control A? No. How do I... Alt-A. Yeah, so if I hit, I'm gonna save this. If I hit Alt-A, I can select all the tracks in front of me. I'm gonna do that, and I'm going to delete this. And I'm just going to add a hold frame for the last part of this. It's going to sound a little bit abrupt when I stop talking, but I think it's still better than continuing with this class because we're already at 11 minutes 30 seconds. So I always leave 2 seconds after I finish talking so that it really doesn't end that abruptly immediately after I stop talking. And I have an end scene marker, which is down here. I'm going to put it over here, and I want it to be on the last frame. Okay. And then I'm going to go into this, and from this point onward, maybe I'll use a little bit more speech from the last class from the last lesson in this one, just so there's a little bit of overlap and it doesn't start so abruptly. Now we can play around with some additional margin of... What do I say here? Maybe I can end it just before the now. From the text to the frame, it's just there for the one single time. Now we can... Actually, maybe I can just end it right here. Usually I try to say, next we will do such and such before the lesson ends, but I guess I didn't think this lesson recording was going to be so long. It's just there for the one single time. Now... Yeah, let's just do that. I'm just gonna keep this entire thing, and I'm going to ripple delete this, which means we're now at the beginning again, and the voice is at what, 10? Great. I'm going to delete this. I don't need this anymore, and I don't need this either. And so actually I want everything to start here, or at least the audio, and I'm going to drag this out a little bit. Yeah, so now it works, and now I can continue editing this part. Now we can play around with some additional margin over here, because obviously we don't want the text to be right on top of the frame. We want it to be below the frame. We want it to be a little bit away from the title at the frame. So what we're going to do, we're going to add another slider, duplicate one of your slider layers. The padding is the most obvious. I think there's an here, which I don't like. As the padding is the most... Yeah, I don't want any and ahs in my class. Right about here. Padding is the most... Oh, now there's like a weird click. Padding is the most... No, it's fine. Obvious for this because it doesn't have exactly margin. As margin is... Oh. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I wanted to show something about the margin, so actually I'm going to cut this out until the point where I'm actually opening the website. So I want to cut this entire bit out because I had forgotten to open the website before the recording. So let's go through that. As margin is now the difference. Oh wait, my mouse moves away. Ah, okay, wait a second. My mouse has to move to that spot first. I had forgotten where my mouse was. That's a little annoying. Okay, so let's just have it until here. And then I cut a little part out when I arrive here. So let's just do it like that. As margin is now the difference between okay. Now the difference between margin. Actually, so I guess I can cut this part out. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna cut this entire piece out. And I'm just gonna cut in when I open this page. So like at this point, I guess. I don't know if you just heard my belly rumble. I'm getting a little hungry. It's already 2 o'clock. I haven't eaten anything apart from breakfast. Okay, let's see what that sounds like. Hello everyone who's joining on Instagram Live. Welcome, welcome.
Now the difference between margin is doesn't have an expression on it. If you enter, call it margin. Now the difference between margin is that both margin and padding refer to white space around text or image. But as this website...
Yeah, but it jumps really quickly into that, so I think I want to keep just a tiny little bit of this before I jump onto the page.
Now
just before that click. So, just before that.
Enter, call it margin. Now the difference between margin is that both margin and padding refer to white space around text or image. But as this website, web typology overview tells us...
Okay, I already know that's fine. Okay, how's this?
Web typography overview tells us margin are spaces between one object and its surrounding elements.
And then there is a really long pause. I'm going to take that out as well.
Elements and paddings are spaces inside the border between the border and the actual image.
And this one too.
This is inside the border between the border and the actual image or text. So what we between the text and the frame, that's padding, but something around the frame can be classified as margin. Let's have a look at that text again. Margin.
I don't say anything in this whole bit, so I'm going to cut this out. But I'm moving my mouse here, so I want to keep that in. And take this part out.
Let's have a look at that text again. Margin and padding provide buffer between the main content and the supporting elements. Margin is used not only to bring harmony between the text and the surroundings, but it's also to add visual interest by contrasting the positive space on the screen, or white space. So it's creating a little bit of a buffer, so to speak. So if you're wondering what the difference between margin and padding is, that's what it is. Of course, you can just call it padding 1 and padding 2, but this may give you a bit of knowledge of CSS and HTML terminology. This might give you a...
There I made a mistake and I repeated the sentence, so I want to cut out the mistake.
This may give you a bit of... This might give you a little bit...
Yep, right around here is when I repeat the sentence. The mouse moves a little bit, but I don't think I mind that much, so let's have a look at that.
Of course, you can just call it padding 1 and padding 2, but this might give you a little bit of background knowledge for programming terminology, and this is what we're essentially doing here. We are writing code, we are programming. There are many languages out there, many programming languages out there, and expressions are based on JavaScript, and so what you're doing here is essentially programming. So it's good to kind of have an idea of the language and be aware of what something is named and what something means. So this is why I'm telling you the difference between padding and margins. Okay, so let's just keep the value of 50, maybe we'll make it a little bit higher, let's say 100. And now, of course, we need to add this to our expression. So first we need to call the margin. So it's actually the same as the padding. I'll just copy this, I'll paste it with Control V, I'll change the name to margin, and also here, calling margin. And then I'm going to add this to my statement. And now the title is below. And now it doesn't matter where you are putting, it matters where you're putting the title, but it doesn't matter the size of the title. The subtitle is...
Actually, I think I wanted to cut this out.
That doesn't matter.
I think I wanted to cut this out because I'm accidentally moving the text and I didn't intend to do that. Okay, so I don't want this to be there, but I want a little bit more of this to be on screen. Let's see.
And it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter the size of the title, and now the title is below. And now it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter the and now
I think I want to have this and now it doesn't matter part. I don't want that to be in the video.
Title is below, but it doesn't matter the size of the title. The subtitle is the title is below.
So the mouse goes from there to there. But there was no time for the mouse to be there. Damn it.
Below.
Maybe I'll just cut it here. Fuck it. Let's just... The mouse will jump just a tiny little bit, I think. But I think it's not so bad, right?
And now the title is below, but it doesn't matter the size of the title is below.
But I have highlighted it. I highlighted it in this little instance that I've now cut out. So these are the tweaking bits that I'm trying to avoid because they take a lot of time and they are so fiddly, but I don't like what I said there. So I want to definitely cut that out, but maybe I can just wait until, yeah, so maybe until here. So I'm just not saying anything in that little pause.
And now the title is below.
But I'm taking a breath here as if I want to say something, so I'm just going to cut that out as well.
And now the title is below. But it doesn't matter the size of the title. The subtitle is moving accordingly to allow for the size of the title, the padding plus the margin. And because everything is parented to our control, everything still moves with our controller. So that's awesome. Now you can play around with the margin. Slide a value over here to adjust the distance of the subtitle from the title and the frame.
Yeah, and there's a little pause which I can take out.
And the frame. Next, we will add a checkbox control with which we'll be able to turn the subtitle on and off.
And that's the end of this lesson. Now I always go... whoops, is that gonna work? Yeah, cool. I always go 2 seconds longer on the video than the audio. And I want it to end here, and I have an end marker somewhere along this that I'm going to move to this point. There we go. I want it to be exactly 1 frame away from the end. And that's it. That's how I edit my lessons all the way through, even including the splitting. And now I would take the time to go through it again slowly, listen to it one more time, and kind of do the little tweaking bits. But if you already watched all the way through this editing session, I won't subject you to watching me do the detailed edit as well. I hope you could take away something from that, and I hope that was interesting to you. If you are interested in taking one of my classes, feel free to go to my website. You can see it over here. It's sonjageracsek.me. That's my website. You can go to online classes, or you can go directly to classes.sonjageracsek.me, and this is where you can find my online classes, and you can enroll in them via these buttons. You can try a monthly subscription, or you can go via, some of my classes are available on other platforms like Udemy, where you can purchase the class as a one-off, and that's in particular this first class where you can enroll on Udemy or even on CG Circuit. So you can get these classes on various sites, either via monthly subscriptions like Skillshare or as a one-off purchase on these other platforms. This class that you saw me edit today is my 7th class that I've put out. 7th class that I've put out as a singular solo creator, not singular. As a solo creator, I have created other classes for Kurzgesagt in the past. Those were the first 3 classes I've ever created. You can also find them on Skillshare if that interests you. And if you would like to know updates, news, and have access to free assets that I provide with my classes, but if you would prefer studying my assets without subscribing to my classes, that is also an option to you. All of these things are available for subscribers of my mailing list. You can go to my website under mailing list, or again, mailinglist.sonjageracek.me, and you can subscribe to my newsletter or just class updates if that interests you. And then you have access to all of these beautiful things like free classes, free assets, access to tools and resources that I share, learning resources that I update each week. You can ask me questions that I will answer on live streams. So if you're interested in that, come join the class. I would be very happy about that. And that is the end of today's stream. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to turn around the IG stream as well so you guys can see me while I'm talking. I hope that you enjoyed today's stream, and if you would like to support me, please follow me on Instagram and TikTok, or subscribe on YouTube and follow me on Twitch. This is where my free content is available and where you'll be able to see my animations, especially on Instagram. That's where I post my work. On TikTok, I mostly post tips and tricks. And YouTube is where the replays of these streams are available. So follow me and subscribe if you would like to support me. I would be very happy about that. And I'll see you probably on Monday, but I don't want to promise. So I'm just gonna say I'll see you next time, and thank you for joining me. Bye!